They said they were making a spiritual successor to Ragnarok Online, and honestly, we hear that promise a lot. Most modern MMOs hold your hand, sanitizing the experience, until you're just following a dotted line on a minimap. SpiritVale's running a demo right now before its July early access launch, and it strips all the theme park design away entirely. You spawn in, kill monsters, and pick up your loot directly. Simple as that. There are no endless dialogue trees or fetch quests padding the runtime. In my 4 hours of playtime, I didn't find a single quest. It's pure grind from the start, unless they plan on adding quest lines later, I'm not sure. Taking away friction ruins the genre. Risk of failure is what makes progression actually mean something. I loaded up the character creator to check the options, and honestly, the variety for hairstyle, eye shapes, and mouth details is just way better than what I saw the last time I played the game. I checked the class roster. The advancement routes mirror the classics. Mage turns into a wizard. Summoner with dedicated catbit evolves into a necromancer. Warrior advances to berserker, and rogue shifts into a shinobi. Other standard routes like acolyte to priest or knight to paladin are all there too. But I went with the scout, since I generally prefer using a range bow or gun classes over melee ones anyway. I picked the bolt head with red anime eyes, and I was ready to grind. The moment you hit the starting area, you notice the crowds. The zone was packed with players, which is highly encouraging for an indie title. Then the sound design hits you. Combat effects sound exactly like classic Ragnarok Online, and it just feels right. The aesthetic visualizes a modern iteration of classic isometric game better than Ragnarok Online 2 ever did. I checked some of the NPCs, and seems like there's also a PvP, with skirmish mode for 2 vs 2, 3 vs 3. The queue was empty though, so I wasn't able to try that. I opened the skill tree, which is heavily inspired by Ragnarok Online, and I dumped my early stat points straight into agility and dexterity for standard scout build. But sounding like a classic and having nostalgic stat screen is one thing, actually delivering on the core loop is another. The early grind doesn't care about your feelings. Mobs hit incredibly hard. I moved out to find level 8 fledglings, pulled too many with an AoE skill without the stats to pack it up, and died instantly. Learned that fast. The ranged enemies completely bypass basic kiting strategies and just chunk your health. So you have to respect the damage output and actually position yourself during combat. Loot drops directly from the monsters without any token vendors or daily login rewards. You farm, a piece of gear drops, and it changes everything. Early on, I was struggling to find a weapon, dropping multiple weapons that were completely useless for a scout class. But then a slingshot finally dropped. I equipped it, and the base attack value increase was huge, immediately changing my clear speed. Later, I dropped sonic shoes, which give a flat 20% attack speed increase. That single item fundamentally altered the rhythm of combat. Suddenly, the build clicked. The attack animation sped up significantly, which meant that my AoE pulls went from being a quick death sentence to become a highly efficient farming method. This old school scaling where stats actually matter, getting a new weapon or a new pair of shoes fundamentally changes how the game plays. I found a craftsman NPC out in the field and crafted the chirpy hat using some gathered flax. It's literally a chicken headgear, but the stats help. The gear loop plays out exactly like an action RPG, because every time pants or weapon drops, you check it out, equip them, and immediately start killing faster. I dropped a new bow later in the desert that gave an extra 10 attack power over the starting weapon. I tested the weapon refining system. It gave me a Vietnam flashbacks to older Korean MMOs and their brutal upgrading RNG, but at least here your items don't break on failure, you just drop enhancement levels. The final damage boost is immediately noticeable though, and my clear speed spiked. I also ran into high damage egglets that repeatedly did lethal damage, forcing me to stay alert. Grinding is only half the loop. Crafting and cart system pulls it all together. Every zone has a localized crafting NPC using local resources, meaning you don't just stand in central city hitting the crafting button. You gather materials out in the active field. I farmed the desert to build the Windstrider set, which boosts range, physical damage, and movement speed. This really forces players out into the world and create organic farming hubs instead of just centralizing everyone in the town. It also provides kind of a safety net. Even if you don't get lucky with drops, farming guaranteed, you get the items eventually. I also crafted the Mana Recovery Antlers headpiece. Mana Regen is incredibly strong here, letting you sustain long grinding sessions and spam Arrow Shower without constantly stopping. We ran into a tough giant mushroom mob that deals massive damage, and my lifesteal wasn't high enough to raw tank them. So I used the new movement speed bonuses from the Windborn rune set to run incredibly fast and quite large pulls. Combined that with an effective combat combo, I placed a slowing trap and shot enemies back into it using double strafe. Then, there's the card system. It mirrors Ragnarok Online perfectly. The monsters drop specific cards, and my first drop was card boosting firebolt damage by 10%. Later, I dropped Bunny card for attack speed and an Egglet card that added agility. Slotted them straight into my weapon for permanent stat boost. Extracting cards costs 25,000 gold, so your choice carry actual weight. You can't just swap them freely, meaning you really have to think about your build. I later found a bow, the 20% multi-strike stat. I refined it to +4, which boosted strafing volley damage by 15%. Successfully extracted a card and slotted a double card setup into the new bow for a massive damage increase. I deposited excess crafting materials into the bank storage and kept my weight limit at healthy 300 to avoid movement penalties. Layout is pretty smart. There are multiple maps for the same level ranges, like Lakefield and Windy Desert, which really cuts down on the grind fatigue. Hitting level 50 unlocks a class advancement, but there are no map markers for the trainers, forcing you to explore the map or ask the community in chat. I found a Berserker Master first. Had to keep searching, ran around the desert, dodging high-level bosses, until I finally located the Gunslinger Master. I became a Gunslinger, which reset all my skill points, and now I had to spend 50 points in my base scout tree before I was able to actually use any of the Gunslinger's skills. I dumped my base points into the passives that don't really require a bow, and then I opened the new Gunslinger tree. Swap the bow for dual pistols. Mobility is insane. You use an active dodge roll to avoid enemy spells and projectile attacks, running around, dropping slows and gunning down huge packs of mobs. The game even supports dual weapon loadout, where you can run a shotgun and pistol combo and swap on the fly. Upgraded the dual pistols to +5 to match my previous bow output, and refined my entire pirate armor set to +5. Critical strike chance hit 43%. I already had the Stormburst crossbow that reduces arrow shower cooldowns, which carried me to level 50, but the dual pistols definitely felt better. The combat feedback is incredibly satisfying, and the style of running around shooting everything fits perfectly. You feel the power increase with every single upgrade. So we look at the value proposition. SpiritVale is launching in the early access for around $15 as a one-time buy-to-play purchase with no subscription model attached, for now at least. I hit level 75 on the Gunslinger with my job level reaching 37. That was about 4 hours of pure gameplay in just the demo. The development progress since the last playtest I played is massive. The combat feels significantly smoother, and the game flow and system are way more polished. The music is absolutely banging, especially the nostalgic tracks in the cave zones, and it fits the grind perfectly. Yes, there are some rough edges that need ironing out. Loot saturation might need a slight adjustment. You get a lot of drops right now, which could devalue the crafting system long term. I also thought about the experience rate. I think the demo has a boosted XP, which helps casual players keep up. I think a dynamic catch-up XP boost that scales based on the weekly play hours could work well for the actual launch. But casual players will never truly match hardcore grinders anyway. Catch-up systems are mostly just an illusion of keeping up. The core loop is solid regardless of pacing. Card collection and localized crafting creates a highly addictive loop. Even exploring the cosmetic pool, checking out the available wings and horns, it feels like an authentic old-school MMO experience. In an industry flooded with endless microtransactions and incredibly shallow progression systems, a pure $15 buy-to-play grinder is an absolute rarity. If you grew up with the classic top-down grinders like Ragnarok Online, this game might be exactly what you want. It seemed to respect your time by making the actual grind mean something again. For $15, it sounds like a solid deal. Tell me in the comments, what do you think about SpiritVale? Are you going to be buying it on the early access for $15? Thanks for the time, and I will see you guys in the next one. Back to the grind.